All right, back at it. Now that we've kind of gotten used to this second part and the third part should go a bit faster, just because that's how things work. When you're better at them, you get faster at them. So we're done with meters to centimeters and vice versa. Now we're dealing with centimeters and millimeters. Now remember, if we go back to the top, well, in 1 centimeter, there's 10 millimeters, okay? 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters. So that's why we're dealing with a 10 here. In 1 centimeter, there's 10 millimeters, okay? Just thought I would remind us of that. So, if we look at this, if we want to go from centimeters, remember the bigger unit goes on the left, smaller unit on the right. If we're going from centimeters to millimeters, we're going to times it by 10. And if we want to go from millimeters to centimeters, we're going to divide it by 10, okay? Easy enough. So, first example, we got 7 centimeters. We want to know how many millimeters is that. So we take the 7, and we're going to times it by 10. Now, we can probably do that in our head. That gives us 70. Nice. Pretty easy. But let's just say, again, we can't do it in our head, right? We're having an off day. We don't know what these numbers mean. What's going on? Good thing we know that decimal trick. So we're going to put this decimal here, add in all our zeros. Now this time we're dealing with 10, right? How many zeros are in 10? There's only 1 0, which means we're only going to move the decimal 1 spot, right? When we're dealing with 100, you move it 2 spots. When we're dealing with 10, you are going to move it, just trying to straighten my paper, going to move it 1 spot, okay? So we're timesing by 10. When you times, you move the decimal to the right. We're moving it 1 spot to the right. So you take the decimal, move it 1 spot this time. It's going to go right in there. And suddenly, we have 7 0 decimal. What's that? What's 7 0 decimal? Well, that's the same as 70, right? Which is what we got when we did it in our head. So we know that it works. So 7 centimeters is equal to 70 millimeters, right? Because I just got rid of all these decimal zeros. Get rid of them. Who needs them? Not me. Okay. Next example, 12 centimeters. We got a 12. We're going from centimeters to millimeters, timesing it by 10. You could do it in your head, sure. If you can't, decimal it is. Throw that decimal in there. We're moving it right 1 spot because there's 1 0. I'm going to move it 1 spot to the right. Get rid of the original guy. You guys will probably be able to do this neater than me, but that's okay. 120 decimal. What is that? What's 120? 120. Gives us our answer. 12 centimeters is the same as 120 millimeters. All right. Another trick is anytime you, as long as it's not like a weird number with a decimal here, any of these guys, if you multiply it by 10, you're basically just adding a 0 on the end, right? If you look here, 7 times 10 is 70. You just added a 0 on. 12 times 10, 120. You just added a 0 on. Same up here. Anytime you're multiplying by 100, right? You're just adding 2 zeros on. So you got a 3, add 2 zeros on, gives you 300. You've got 11, add 2 zeros on, gives you 1100. Another trick. Lots of tricks in math. Math is just tricks. That's all it is. Good mathematicians know all the tricks. All right. So we went from centimeters to millimeters. Let's do the reverse. How do we do that? Divide by 10. All right. So first example, we've got 90 millimeters, and we want to go to centimeters. So we're going to divide that by 10. Well, can you do that in your head? Possibly. Another trick here, when you have a number like this, any number that ends in a 0, and you have to divide it by 10, you can just cross the 0 off, and it leaves you with 9, okay? That's another trick you could do. Here, 150, cross the 0 off, it would leave you with 15, right? You can do it that way. We're going to stay consistent. We're going to use our decimal trick because consistency is key. Okay, so decimal 000. Now, we're dealing with 10. Remember, there's only one 0 in 10, so we're only moving the decimal one spot. When we're dividing, what way do we move the decimal? Do we move it to the left or to the right? When you're dividing, you move it to the left. So we look at our 90 here, take the decimal, move it one spot to the left, right? It's going to go right there between the 9 and the 0. We've got 9 decimal 0. All these zeros after the decimal. Get rid of them, gives you 9. So 9 millimeters is equal to 90 millimeters is equal to 9 centimeters. Excuse me. Let's do another example and then we'll do a couple tricky ones. All right. So we've got 150 millimeters going to centimeters. How do we do that? We're dividing by 10. Or in other words, take that decimal, move it one spot to the left, puts it here between the 5 and the 0. Ugh. You think I'd have better materials as a math teacher. And we've got 15 decimal 000. Or in other words, 15. 15. All right, so 150 millimeters is the same as 15 centimeters. Now, 4 basic examples. If you've got those, you're good. You know this topic. But if you want to push your brain a little bit, because who doesn't, let's do some tricky ones. Here we've got an 8.2. Oh no, not that decimal again. 8.2 centimeters. We want to go to millimeters. Well, how do we do that? We times it by 10. If you can do that in your head, congratulations. If you can't, let's do our decimal trick now. We already have a decimal here, right? But we can still add all of our zeros at the end of the number. Add them all in. Now, how do we multiply by 10? We move to the right. How many times? Once, because there's 1 0. Take the decimal, move it to the right once, put it after the 2. Get rid of the original guy. It's kind of like a game at this point. We've got 8.2 decimal 000 forever, or 82. All right, so 8.2 centimeters is the same as 82 millimeters. One more, guys, we can do it. I'm gonna be honest, this video is a lot longer than I expected. I hope you're okay with that. Here we go. We got 16 millimeters. We're going to centimeters. How do we do that? Divide by 10. Can you divide that in your head? Maybe you can. Awesome. If you can't, let's decimal it up. Remember, when you divide, you move it to the left once, because there's 1 0 in 10. So we take the decimal, move it one spot to the left, get rid of the first guy, and all of a sudden we have got 1.60000, or the same as 1.6. All right, so 16 millimeters, 1.6 centimeters.